One thing that we talk about often are what we consider swivel chair employees within organizations, people that work on both sides of the fence when it comes to regular org charts versus compliant and DFARS compliant org parts of their organization. Sometimes we have people that want to have two different email addresses or just have one email address that's in GCC high and keep my information in the regular tenancy and just operate out of there. Is there any problem with having both of those spaces available to certain employees?
Yeah, so that poses an interesting problem, right? So oftentimes what we'll see is companies that aren't 100% government contracts, right? They may only have like a small section of their organization, maybe like 5 or 10% of their organizational contracts are within this space, right? And so you have this issue where you have a certain number of employees. Let's say it's a small company and you have 20 employees, and only 15 or 20% of your revenue is actually within the government space. How do you go about if the majority of your business is not required to have this high level of security? How do you go about creating a solution where you do have an enclave, maybe a small section that meets these regulations, but you need to have an employee that works between the two operations, right? And it can get super complicated. I think there's not really an easy button. If I were to say that the closest thing there is to an easy button may be Windows Virtual Desktop, because the way that works is you're building all of your government operational stuff in an environment where you can secure that environment a little easier than it would be to having to rip out all of your networking, all your servers, replace all your workstations for 80% of your organization that has nothing to do with these government contracts. So looking at a solution like a virtual desktop environment can make a lot of sense. It certainly isn't the cheapest solution, but when you look at the pros and cons of a solution like that, where you weigh the fact that if your corporate network and all your systems are now within scope and we have to secure everything, it may be more expensive to retrofit your entire organization than it would be to just kind of build out a few workstations in the cloud environment and just build your fortress up in the cloud. So that would be something as part of a plan of action or POAM is like, okay, does this make sense for our organization? What does that cost look like? What is the operational value of that? And those are the things that you would weigh with regards to your remediation steps. Yes. There's a lot of positives to it, but it's certainly one of many paths to becoming compliant. But for the purposes of swivel chairs and people that work between two different operations and two different types of contracts, commercial and government, there's a lot of positive things about potentially rolling out a virtual desktop environment.